Carranza came close there. Nobody tries more switches against the team than against Philadelphia. In other words, everybody tries it. Everybody understands that's how you get at the diamond, and yet they're still pretty good at covering for it. Watch this run by Velasco as Ariola reaches the ball with the near post run is by Ferreira, who gets himself into shooting position and scores it for FC Dallas. Oh, they have worked hard for that one tonight. FC Dallas had their problems early in the game, but problems no more. Zeus is on the board. It's a very good defender. The touch right there takes him right around Glasses. Glasses doesn't move.
We are live. Welcome to Big D After Dark. When the lights go down, we go live. Welcome to the show. We are live, and of course, what's fun about this FC Dallas live sports show here is that it can get a little messy and chaotic sometimes. So you can send in your comments and questions if you're joining us. You can share the show on Facebook and on Twitter. We appreciate all of that as we have some good conversation after a roller coaster week for FC Dallas. I'm the host here, Nathan Hill. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill on Twitter. There in the middle is our buddy Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona.
What's up, everybody?
And welcoming back to Tommy LaBeouf there at Tom_FC Dallas, rocking out his good FCD gear tonight. That's right.
What's up, everybody?
I always keep my scarf over here and forget to put it on. We really had we'll see if Ishmael joins us here in a bit. Don't know what his status is tonight, but hey, we go live. We got to do it live. And it really was a roller coaster week for FC Dallas. A tough, their last sort of 3-game week, 3 games in 9 matches. And they had 2 wins at home, which was nice to see them return to form. In particular, on Wednesday night, taking on, welcoming the Philadelphia Union to Frisco, and taking care of business. And one of performance that may not have been the prettiest performance offensively, but they got the goal, and they did their job to preserve the shutout and send Philly packing. Then things got a little more bleak on Sunday night as FC Dallas visited Nashville, who have been in a slump, and I think Dallas was hoping to steal some points, but it did not go their way. A 4-0 drubbing. That was really tough to watch. Really, really tough to watch. So we're going to start with the positive side of things. We're going to start with what we liked about that win. Really an important win at home against Philadelphia Union, one of the best teams, maybe one of the top 2 teams in all of Major League Soccer. Jose, what did you like out of that 1-0 win at home?
I like the fact that it was a total team victory. It's very hard to pick out one guy that you could say was the best, the MVP of the game, because I think everybody, and I mean everybody, the starting 11, I think everybody had excellent games against. I mean, you had a team that came in top of the East on short rest for both teams, and really probably the most complete match that the team has put together as a unit, where basically everybody, all the fans said, we look like a real contender here. But that it underscores why it's so important to get that home playoff match, because if Dallas can find a way to finish in the playoffs and with a home match, then it gives the team a shot. They at home they can beat anybody.
Tommy, what were your reactions to the win against Philly?
Yeah, I thought it was close to a world-class goal there by Ferreira. That one little touch, in tight space, to get open, to get a shot in. I don't remember many FC Dallas forwards that would have done that and just kept the composure. And I thought, Velasco had a good game, and we were able to close out the game and win. But, I just remember going up early with that goal, Ferreira. That was really nice. And, it was nice to see them close out the win.
Yeah, I think it was an important win because that was one we circled and we're like, we'll really test FC Dallas. Are they really getting back in form against a team that is well coached, well-designed team, a lot of depth, a lot of good pieces, a team
Best
that knows
defense in the league.
Yeah, knows its identity, that plays good defense, and so there were going to be a lot of question marks for FC Dallas to measure up, and they just took care of business. It was a classic soccer match. It was just, we're going to get the goal, and then we're just going to clamp down and make life miserable for you. And that is a playoff formula, Jose, to your point, like that you want to go far in the playoffs. It's not always about scoring 4 or 5 goals. People are amped up. Yeah, that's rare. It's that 1-0, right?
It's not how you win. It's just get the win and finding that, making something out of nothing. Honestly, that goal, that it was a great little bit of magic there from Jesus. But at the same time, if Jesus isn't on the pitch, that goal doesn't happen. I mean, we end up with 0-0, and when we were asking for predictions, I was saying I didn't care who they were playing. It was a home match. They had to get the 3 points, and the team played like it wanted those 3 points, and they didn't care who they were playing against. And I'm just saying, as an FCD fan, you had to. I can't think of a fan who was not excited after that match, after that performance.
And Tommy, I do think for our frustration at times as fans watching these games and looking at the roster that FC Dallas has, to get a guy like Sebastian, and at this point in the season, kind of an interesting trade, and it seems like he's fitting. He's been very serviceable, very, really fit in with the team and helping them have a little something more to offer coming out of the midfield. I mean, would you grade it as a pretty solid deal so far?
Yeah, so far I think it's a good addition. Anytime you get a technical player that can give and go, I remember hearing somewhere in the media or somewhere that, coach, or maybe it was on the Gamecast, that, coach told Allen, this guy, if you give him the ball, he'll give it back to you. And I think it was during the game, and Steve or wherever, Steve Davis was like, yeah. And then Velasco went back to coach. Hey, you're right. He needs to give him the ball back. So someone who does, you can be as fast as you can, but if you lose the ball, it's just, you see what happened to O'Brien, right? That's the reason why he's on the bench. But I also want to point out that Velasco had a great game in the midfield. He come close to hitting a couple shots and. A lot of space in the middle. He kind of drifts. He plays on the wing and drifts to the middle, and he's coming around as well.
Yes. I want to add that I agree with Tommy on Velasco, and I don't want to say he had his best performance of the year. I know a lot of people are saying that. I want to say he had his most mature performance as a FC Dallas player, where you saw everything he brought to the table. And you said, yeah, this kid, he's getting it. He's getting it.
Yeah.
He's starting to put it all together. And I want to say it was his most mature performance and an excellent performance, and we need to get more of that from him, especially at home.
More on Velasco. One thing I see with him is a kid that really wants to do well. He's a good kid. I mean, I don't think Diaz was a great player, but I question some of his motivation on the field sometimes. Like, I really felt like he had his moments, but there was also a lot of moments where he didn't want to be here. Right, all of a sudden missing in action or whatever. I kind of felt like, and the stories come out later that he was never really happy here. But with Velasco, I mean, I see him playing defense. I see him getting better and doing things that he wasn't doing in the beginning of the year. Just being tough and being smart, and they're starting to see how to use Velasco in the middle.
He has been in a good bit of form lately, and he's improving, and I think that just bodes well. It's the right time to start peaking and getting into rhythm, and maybe he has some more spectacular moments on the way here. The team will need it down the stretch. It's going to need everybody to contribute something. Mm-hmm. Well, and then the 3 games in 9 days. First 2 are wins, and so you looked at this match against Nashville as a sort of a match where you just want to take anything you can get. Nashville has been up and down. It's a solid team, and at times they have looked dominant. But boy, they have struggled to close out games lately and dropped a lot of points at home. So here's the timing for FC Dallas. FC Dallas' third game in 9 days. Their best player, Jesus Ferreira, designated player, gets yellow card accumulation, so he's out, which means you got to turn to Frank O'Hara, our $3 million designated player, who hasn't done a whole lot, but you'd hope the team at least go in maybe with the sense that, hey, let's just bunker, let's see what we can get out of this game. Meanwhile, Nashville has a come to Jesus moment where Dax McCarty, as a veteran on that team, really rips into the team. They have hard conversations that, like, we got to sort this out. We can't be messing around anymore. And so sure enough, it's like a perfect storm for FC Dallas. Tired legs, missing your best attacking presence out there, rotating a little bit, but probably not rotating enough ultimately. Who knows? And then the game just goes downhill. 4 goals given up. At least a couple of the goals Paz probably should have done better on, I think. I think you can make that case. But really, the whole team should have been sharper in this one. And so it's one of these games where you probably just say, hey, that sucked. No one got injured, hopefully. Let's just move on. Let's put it behind us. Let's get a good rest week. But because I'm not sure if there's any positive to take out of this match. No one on the field looked good for FC Dallas. Maybe a slight improvement in the second half, but what do we take from it? I don't know.
I thought Velasco looked solid again. But like you said, honestly, you looked at a team that was playing on tired legs and simply was getting out hustled to the ball. And it was just a perfect storm. I mean, Nashville is a talented team, a team that many predicted would be, one of the top 3 teams in the league. And they have that kind of talent, and they've been underperforming. And honestly, it was just a perfect storm. They had all week to prep up for FC Dallas. And like you said, hey, if we can win here, we can still get into the playoffs. We can still turn this around, but we got to do it now. And they played it that way. They played it with desperation and aggressiveness, and they really, like you said, it was a perfect storm. And people forget that Nashville has sort of had FC Dallas's number.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't help either. But it's just a game where, like I said, the first time that FC Dallas has lost by more than 2 goals all season, and it just seems that we have one of those every year, and it just so happened to be this game. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and I take more from the win over Philadelphia than the loss against Nashville.
Well, and I should have mentioned, Philly went on after getting beat in Frisco. They go on and play DC United and crush them 6-0. So in my After Dark article,
I thought it was 7-0.
Oh, maybe it was 7-0. Yeah, maybe I had that wrong. It was terrible. Yeah. And by the way, one of the little local stories I heard about today was that the day after that game, DC United had a meet the fans, like a fans meet the players event. And I think that had to be the worst.
Oh, wow.
The worst timing. But yeah, teams give up those kinds of things on occasion in Major League Soccer. Every team has that 1 or 2 games where it's just a bad day. It's just a bad day. So
Coach said they were not mentally ready, and right before the show, I went and watched a little bit of the first 4 minutes, 5 minutes. The game started, and they passed the ball back to Martinez. It was like 5 seconds in the game. And what does Martinez do? He hits a long ball to not the tallest player to Areola, who's probably one of the shortest players on the field, and he loses the ball. And within 7 seconds, mentally, that's just not the way to start a game on the road, up in the air, lollygag ball to Areola. And then, next thing you know, they have the ball, and they're attacking us. Ziki had a bad touch. He almost gave away the ball inside the thing. He got it back. Then, they're passing it around there, and then what I saw is that Nashville was pressing with 7 players in the defending half. And then you had a bad touch from Cirillo, a very bad touch. And it just seems like, mentally they were not there. And then, that goal that they made, that's like that was a little bit of a luck. I mean, it was in a far angle and he went in. It's kind of like the same thing when Ferreira scored against Philadelphia. You go up 1-0 and you got to fight back. And FC Dallas didn't have the team to fight back. And, I was thinking about them pressing with the 7 players. Why could they do that? I can tell you why. Because who was going to threat to score on a counterattack? Not Hara. So, again, they were not mentally prepared, but I think it's a process, and I don't think Nico has his team yet. And will he ever have a full team? We'll see. But I don't think that Cirillo's a starter, and I don't think that Hara's a starter, and I think those are 2 weak links. And there's your game.
I'm going to disagree with you because last I remember, Cirillo started against the Union and shut down their top scorer. I mean, he just closed that guy down. And then you have Cirillo after such a tough match like that, and then you roll him out against Nashville. The kid was just exhausted. And honestly, you got to blame the formation. I don't blame Cirillo. I blame the formation. You come out in a 4-3-3. They should have gone with a 4-4-2, and they should have had 2 midfielders. They should have had somebody helping Cirillo, so Cirillo was not.
Yeah, I see your point, and it's well taken. And I was going to say that just real quick is that when they gave up that goal, Paxton was in the left back position instead of being in the middle, being one of the players. When FC Dallas is trying to beat the press, who do you want to get the ball to? You want to get it to Velasco and Paxton. Neither of those guys got in touch with the ball.
No, and like I said, I think it's just the wrong formation, and Dallas came out and they didn't really play defensively, bunker ball right off the bat, and in retrospect, maybe they should have. I mean, maybe it wasn't going to be pretty. Maybe we're going to lose 2-0, but, like I said, with the tired legs and a motivated Nashville team, they got the formation wrong, and they didn't have – you saw our lack of depth in the fact that a lot of the players that played – Cirillo, Paxton, a lot of these guys played the full match on Wednesday, and then you roll them out on the road to boot. It's
tough.
It's just a huge reminder that we need, we have some players that are dragging us down, and there's nothing you can do about that. It's just, you just have to figure it out.
Yeah, and missing, I know Quinone was on the bench, but obviously he didn't get in, and he probably wouldn't have move the needle in any way.
And he wasn't 100%, and that was, that should show you how far from 100% he was. Probably just there as an emergency player,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did y'all think about Benny coming on in the 46th minute?
I think Benny should have started. Like I said, it should have been a 4-4-2, and if you were going to start Benny, then you should have started Obrian up top next to Hara, so he could make those deep runs and at least keep Nashville honest. And honestly, I'm surprised that Obrian wasn't there earlier. I would have started Obrian, like I said, either him or Benny next to Hara in a 4-4-2, and said,
I was thinking the same thing.
We should just bunker and then hit them over the top and try to catch them. And
got to have some speed at least to threaten, to go back the other way.
And not that they didn't have speed.
As he's been, yeah.
Not to say that we didn't have speed, but Velasco and Areola on tired legs, they're gonna miss a little bit of that extra burst, and so they were set up for failure. And Nico has to blame himself on that. He's gotta. I think we were saying he needed to give some of these younger players minutes. This would have been the perfect match for it.
Yeah, and I thought, why not give Redzik some minutes out there? We've seen his load increase a little bit, and while he brings energy, though, the truth is the question. It's the jury is still out on this guy on how he's going to fit, how he's going to translate his game to this level, and how long it will take. I mean, it's tough to say, oh, we really want you to come in and change the game, but there was an opportunity there for some of these young guys to really make a statement for themselves. And I think even, I think Redzik, he did what he could with what was the option out there. I was very disappointed in Siki. I thought Zeke has at times looked like he is the steal of the draft, and then at times he just looks like it's a struggle for him to kind of impact the game, and I think that's just part of the growing learning curve and stuff, and it's a lot to expect him to come in and kind of just in a way environment to like take over a game. He may be talented, but he's not that talented, you know.
And well, in his performance, just reminds you of why the Jet addition was such a big addition, because Siki is inconsistent as a first year professional should be, and Cervania has also been inconsistent, and so it can be maddening to have young players like that have really good games one week and then have completely opposite bad games the following week. And it's still there. Siki still can help you, but right now it's his kind of inconsistent play on the road.
It's easy, yeah. It's easy to go back and now and say you should have done this, you should have done that. I mean, looking at it now, I was wondering like it should have started Sebastian over Zeke, right? It didn't bring Zeke on when they were tired. I think you get a little bit more ball control there, but like I say, it's easy for me to say that now, right.
But I think they were worried.
Yeah,
they were worried that Leggett had come in and played 3 games, with very little rest, and and he is a veteran, and you do got to rest him. And honestly, you expected better from Tiki. You expected better from some of the players, but at the end of the day, it just lack of depth. The team just has doesn't have the depth to handle 3 games in 9 days. And I think this happened last time we had, 3-4 games in a row on short notice, and the seconds and the third or fourth game, we were just like, man, we're horrible. Why? Because we're going into our bench, and yes, there's potential on the bench, but there's no consistency in the bench, and sometimes you get good games, sometimes you get complete disasters.
So if I were to tell you at the beginning of the year, at this point in the time, FC Dallas would be 3rd in the conference, what would you have thought?
I honestly, I think we would all have taken it. I mean, let's face it, not too many people, including a lot of FC Dallas fans, were very hopeful that this team would be much more than, everyone thought we'd be like 8th, 7th place around this time. Mm-hmm. And that may still be the case, that we may still end there, but as the season comes to the end, you're seeing where this team has a good chance to finish, anywhere from 3 to 6, if they, depending on how they finish. So, and I think we'd all settle for four. I know I would.
So to follow up on that, and Nathan, please let me forgive me for asking this, but new era. Is it a new era? And the way I look at this new era, what I see is that right now the roster is still very thin. I mean, like, yes, we got better players in some positions, but there's still some weak spots. We know that's not going to change overnight. They already said it's a process, but from a coaching perspective, the biggest change that's the biggest thing that I've seen this year with last 10 years of FC Dallas is the coaching and the handling of the players in the lineups. It's not given to anyone just because you're on the team, and he's only trusting a handful of players. It's a different philosophy from there, and perhaps it's a new era in the sense that they got Areola, they got Legit, they signed Velasco, but until I see a full roster, can we sign off on a new era? I'm asking you guys.
I think it is, and I will tell you why I think it's a new era, because you have to ask yourself, if Nico is not our head coach, does Areola want to come here? Does Legit want to come here? And the fact that we have a manager who was an assistant for the U.S. men's national team and runs very much the same attack has made FC Dallas a very attractive place for all those players that are on the fringes right now. Let's face it, if you can't get to Europe, what's the best team to go to if you want to keep yourself in that World Cup conversation? And FC Dallas suddenly has become a very attractive place for that kind of player. I mean, they're saying Legit basically asked to come to FC Dallas. I mean, that's
Yeah.
all you need to know is when U.S. MNT players start seeing you as a favorable destination. Yes, this team
Mm.
has definitely it's definitely a new era. We're seeing the beginning of the new era, though. I mean, think of how many years it took Poppy to get his team that he wanted, the team that the 2016 team. That was what that's third season with FC Dallas. You know,
Mm.
I'm just saying it's Nico is basically doing great in his first season with some baggage that he has no say over. We'll see. I think we all should be pretty excited about, especially with the moves that this team was willing to make this season. If they can keep that sort of aggressiveness next season, yeah, I think I
Yeah.
think you can say it's off to a good start.
For me, I'm hoping that it's not like a short stay for Nico. He's here for long term, and World Cup. We'll see what happens with Jesus and how he does. I expect that if he goes and lights it up, he's not going to return, right? I mean, but I did hear someone say that or news whatever that he wants to break his dad's records and he's not really interested in jumping ship just yet. But it will be interesting to see what happens in the offseason now that the World Cup will be behind us and what kind of players we'll have around. So but so far, I'm going to check off that it's a new era. I'm not going to say it's done, but I'm going to check off that they're in the right direction.
Yeah, there's already some good. I think what we've seen from this team, and this is what I'd say. If you asked me that question like beginning of the season, hey, at this point, going into the final 8 games or whatever, 7 games, you're going to be, you're going to be third in the West. I would have taken it too, and I would have been surprised. I think this team should be talented enough to compete for a playoff spot, and our home form and Nico's done enough to improve our away performances. So there's a lot to like there, but there's been some uneven play, of course. We've seen the limitations of this roster. So I think to be in this position, to have a chance to solidify it, or at least to just qualify for a playoff spot in these final stretch run of games is a great first year for Nico. If they can do some damage in the playoffs, even amazing. I'm not holding my breath, but we've seen that this team can play really well and has some excellent pieces. But but we've also seen man, we probably could use more competition at right back. That Nanu has not really been that wonderful of a piece. We could probably use some help at left back. We could use some. We could probably use some. We definitely need at least some depth in striker that can provide some speed off the bench at least. And we're getting that.
I'm glad you mentioned Nanu because I know a lot of people are unhappy with the way he's
I'm not
panned out.
necessarily. Go ahead.
I know. Our friend that isn't here would totally be on with that. But I'm just saying, people don't forget that they took a big swing on Nanu.
That had to be the worst.
Wow.
They took a big swing on him. They missed, but it's a loan, so it's not like the Hara swing. It's not that level of bad swing. But they did try to bring in somebody that was better than Tuamasi. To Tuamasi's credit, he's improved. Yes, he's still not, Reggie Cannon, Brian Reynolds good, but he is better than he was last season, and he's certainly better than Nanu. And I think you'll see it again. I think FC Dallas next year, they'll bring somebody else and say, hey, Tuamasi, you can do better. And okay, you beat out Nanu, we're going to bring in somebody else next year to push you to try to take your job. And I like that approach.
And I failed to mention signing Pass. That was a big thing. Trading Hollingshead for Farfan. I mean, the coach knows what he wants. He wanted a defender. He didn't want an attacker. Those are two good moves.
And those moves, and all those moves, think about it, is taking a team that finished, outside the playoffs last season and made them a team that is in the very, very thick of it all right now. Right. And I think we can all be, where we are feeling right now, even though we're coming off a really bad loss. I think no one's panicking. No one's going, oh my God, soon or anything like that. We're all saying, hey, we'll take that loss. Let's not build on that. Let's get
Yeah.
back and hopefully it's a one-off. And I think that's a huge change in the fandom right now. Where before in the past we've all been in full panic mode, going, "Oh my God," you know,
Pa-
the wheels have come
Paz
off.
has
But that's not the case yet.
Paz has been solid. I mean, that goal against him on last night. I mean, that was
He was
just
bound to
ridiculous.
have a
But
bad game.
yeah, but Farfan, I mean, he hasn't made many mistakes right there left back. I mean, he's been pretty solid. I don't remember him getting beat. No handballs, no fouls on the box. He's got some assists. He's got a score recently. I
And
mean,
and
he's just been a great pickup.
and they have. And I'm just saying, I blame this more on fatigue, but also don't forget that the Philadelphia match was very physical match. We're talking about that
Mm.
those refs, they allowed a lot of physical contact to go unchecked in that match.
Oh, that
And I
referee
want
was
to
something
say
else.
yes, and you have to think about it. On top of the fatigue, on top of being in a really tense opponent, a playoff caliber opponent, and basically after that drag down, beat down, Pier Six brawl, you got to still travel to Nashville, and they looked like a team that was didn't have much in the tank from the get go. And Pass, uh, he got beat up pretty badly in that game too, and in this game. So he,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't want to say that he had a bad game necessarily. I just want to say he's a player that's gotten for a goalkeeper. He's taken a pretty good beating, and the refs, you got to blame those guys for some of that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that was
I
really a
think
strange referee night.
yeah, I think we're gonna see, we'll see a good turnover of the roster. I think there's gonna be some guys that haven't had many minutes that will be gone, El Medcar and others. I think we'll see some of that thinning out. And for me, always to think about Mulatto coming up with the first team next year will be an exciting thing to see. And I think Colin Smith will be a year at least closer to competing in camp and pushing Tomasi. So there's some good possibilities still coming along, even as the team will have some room after the World Cup to go out and pick up. I think some good players to bring in.
Is Sean still practicing with the team? Because I just can't believe he could not have helped this year at all.
I don't know what's going on with him. In all honesty, I do want to say that I think this team could do what it's missing this season, and I mean, I'm sure roster limitations had a lot to do with that, but I still would like them to add a an affiliate in the championship, in USL championship, because North
Mhm.
Texas is developing players that can come in at the lower rung for the team. We're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of raw talent there, but you can't tell me that guys like Munjoma and Shun and Benny, those guys could have used some serious minutes in the first half of the season in the USL
Yeah.
Championship, and I would love to see the Hunts do something about that, make an actual, and I don't mean like a 2-year deal. They need to say something honest, like say, hey, 5, 10 year deal with San Antonio or El Paso or the new Fort Worth team. They really do need to do something so that there's a missing rung on that ladder. There's some players like Roberts who are too good to be playing in North Texas. You know, it would be nice to be able to send them there, another step on that ladder. And those players, like I said, maybe they'd be helping us more now. They wouldn't. The talent
Yeah.
would be better, but at least they would be in better form. Is what I'm getting at.
hmm Well, good. Well, shifting, talking about that lower level, North Texas SC. I do think we've had some movement, some activities, there with some signings and Derek Waldeck was released and now I think is back in USL 1, which good for him. I think his time he'd been a good servant for the team. Probably the longest tenured North Texas SC player as far as I know.
Yes,
But
first 3 year player for North
yeah.
Texas.
But North Texas did play at Colorado 2, I believe. I don't. And
Yeah, that was a tough draw. That was basically at, I believe, in extra time. Colorado basically did the whole we need a point desperately. We don't want to be eliminated, and they pulled their goalkeeper, brought him up, and they punched in that tying goal right in the last. I think it was like the 92nd minute. With when it was like 4 minutes at a time. So, yeah, that was a hard one for the team to take. Fortunately, they did win on the PK, so they got the extra point. And the truth is right now they're simply playing for positioning. I mean, they are a playoff team, no doubt about it. There's separation. The top four teams: Tacoma, St. Louis, Houston, and North Texas. Right now, there's two separate battles going on with Tacoma and St. Louis are battling for 1 and 2, and Houston and North Texas will battle for 3 and 4. It's just down to positioning. Everybody else right now that unless Houston and or North Texas totally collapse, there's no way anybody else is gonna catch up to those guys right now.
Looks like
And
they have
by the way, had North Texas held on to the win, they'd be in third place right now, ahead of Houston.
and it looks like they have a week off this week.
Yes, North Texas has a game on hand on everybody, so they get the week off, and then they have the week after. I think they should have a winnable game, and Houston and St. Louis play each other. Minnesota is tough. They play a lot of you saw they play a lot of their senior roster players, but North Texas seems to have their number. So I think that's a winnable game for them. Most importantly, I'll be watching St. Louis Houston play that week, and I'll be cheering for St. Louis to beat Houston or at least hold them to a draw, because like I said, that's all you really need to watch. It's Houston and North Texas down the stretch. Who's going to finish third or fourth? And then St. Louis, Tacoma battling out for 1 and 2. And the only way North Texas finishes, second place is if Tacoma or St. Louis, one of those guys, just go on a losing streak, which I don't see happening.
Yeah, and I know it sounds like Coach Kaw has been such a positive force. We should have an interesting article out this week, kind of a few of us recapping how it's been in this first season with Coach Kaw. But you could probably tell, too, he's been frustrated with some of these results lately. The team just not finding ways to close out the games, and it's the cruelty of the sport sometimes.
And I think Kaw doesn't accept the we're a young team as an excuse. He expects his team to perform. They practice the situations. He expects them, against Colorado, that last minute goal. You could just tell that Kaw was not happy with the team at all, because that's something that they drill on, and he expects his team to, we're talking that's the kind of points you can't give up with down the stretch with the playoffs, because in the playoffs those are going to eliminate you.
All right, well, good stuff. I think we'll leave it here for tonight. Of course, we'll be uploading the podcast, the audio, to wherever you find audio podcasts of choice, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google. So please listen in. Please subscribe. Please help spread the word. We do this because we love this team, and there's a lot.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a great few more weeks of the season to go. It's going to be intense. There's going to be drama. That one of that next home matches coming up against LAFC is going to be a really interesting one. Or is it an away match? It's an away match.
The LAFC match? I thought that was in Frisco.
Maybe it is in Frisco, and it's just
because that's
because we played them well. Yeah. Well. What's
that now? I think that's the last home match. Is against LAFC. I'm sorry, Tom. You're.
Yeah, no, my thing is not loading up. Well, anyway, all right, we got some good, and of course, this coming weekend, you're right, Javier's right. We got to get 3 points against RSL at home. Again, should be doable for this team to bounce back, put that Nashville result in the rearview mirror, and get another big 3 points at home.
Yes, FC Dallas hosts LAFC. It's their second to last home game because the Sporting KC is the last home game. But yes, 3 points against RSL is a must. FC Dallas is the only team to travel to RSL and take 3 from them all season long. So you best believe that RSL will be looking to exact a little revenge. And let's face it, with playoff positioning on the line for both of these two teams, this is a 6-point match, so it's a must win.
Yeah.
Arjun is right.
Good stuff.
SKC is the last home match.
Well, let's leave it there. Thank you all for joining us. We'll
Thanks,
see you
guys.
next week, next Monday
Thanks for the
night.
comment.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Hey, look.